So we'd like to start with a little introduction about our personal background and kind of how our studio evolved over the past few years. And it's pretty important for us because we believe it's pretty intrinsic to kind of our working process and our working relationship.
So yeah, who are we? My name is Jacob Klein. I was born in a very small countryside town in the middle of West Germany, in Warendorf. I grew up in an even smaller town in the middle of West Germany called Reda-Wiedenbrück. This is me at kindergarten age. And this is kind of like the feeling that you get when you come to our town, even nowadays, even if this is a very old photo, but this is kind of like the environment I grew up in. And at the age of 16, I kind of like finished school and I decided I have to do something that is a little bit more practical. Like I just wanted to be hands-on and do something, become something in my life. And my dad is a furniture designer. So I kind of wanted to go into the same direction, and I decided to do an apprenticeship as a carpenter at the company called Westphalia. I don't know if any one of you knows them, but they were responsible, like in the early 70s as well, for constructing these camping vans, or like taking the VW base and constructing them. And so I was also working on the interior of these camping vans during my apprenticeship. Then in 2001 I moved to Bielefeld because I finished my apprenticeship and I wanted to study, and I came up like with the idea because my dad had a lot of books flying around with like graphic design inspiration for him, and I was always looking through those books, and I decided to study graphic and communication design in Bielefeld. And I graduated there in 2007.
So I'm Nathan Cowen, the other half. I was born in California, Santa Cruz, and didn't really spend much time there, so this is kind of what I associated, more my parents' perspective and my first kind of connection to Germany. But my dad was an oceanographer, so he got a position at the University of Hawaii, and so I grew up there, playing basketball and dealing a lot with postcards because I traveled a lot and dealt with a lot of interesting stereotypes of Hawaii that were mostly true. Moved to San Francisco to study, and this is most of what I remember of it because I don't visit that often these days. And I also studied kind of a more general graphic design at the University of College of Arts and Crafts. And basically how it all began is we both moved to Berlin in 2008. This is also a very stereotypical picture. Anyone's been to Berlin, it's always black and white. And we both interned for a studio called HORT, where Jakob and I sat at the same intern desk, and a lot of people basically are doing research and dragging images to their desktop, which in the beginning was new for us, so we were always kind of looking over each other's shoulders.
And we were looking for a way to share those images that like everyone collected each and every day, so like, yeah, we came up with the idea for an online platform where we can share them.
And for an online platform, I mean, it grew from moving desks. We weren't next to each other, so that provided kind of a difficulty to look at each other's screens. So we thought, okay, well, a website would be the easiest way, and we needed a domain name. And the quickest thing we could think of was combining Hawaii, where I'm from, with the city we met in, which equals that. And so Haw-lin is basically an online mood board that we use for kind of research tools and to share each other's kind of images of inspiration.
Yeah. And then I think like after working at HORT for a few years, we kind of got to this point where we realized that like through the online mood board or through the blog, we didn't really tell anyone about it, or like we told our closest friends, I think, and it kind of became something that we didn't even imagine it being that big. So it happened to become a way bigger thing. A lot of people started looking at it, and by that, or while it happened, it brands started contacting us, agencies started contacting us, and we thought, okay, maybe the logical next step for us would be to combine our design experience with our photography inexperience and our research skills to found a studio. And then we started Haw-lin Services in 2011. Yeah.
I mean, so we're a basic studio that combines graphic design, photography, and we usually spend 50% dealing with both of these things. And for us, it's important to kind of develop the concept as well with whoever we're working with. And so far, we've had the luxury of working on every single concept and doing our own photography. And next, we wanted to show an example of the first film we ever worked on. And this was quite an interesting process because we'd never filmed anything before, and we consulted with a friend who was going to kind of do the cinematography, and he suggested a red camera.
Yeah, he had the idea, okay, let's use a red camera, and it just like, we got this big package, and it was a bit complicated to get the camera because it got all mixed up, and we ended up having a red dragon, a red epic, I think, which is, for us, it was more like, it looked like a weapon system. You had a lot of boxes, and you had to put everything together, and it ended up being a very big thing to carry. And it was an interesting experience because like everything that we did for this video, we kind of approached it from like we had like I think 20 square meters small room. And it was about, like, the video shows a product that product design friends of ours designed, and they wanted to kind of show the assembly of the product. So we thought, okay, we start with the kind of like closest look at the objects that are part of the whole package, and like we show the shapes, we show the material, we show like how it's kind of like, it has this, in German you call it Feinstruktur texture on top. So that's something we wanted to bring across. And as you see in the video, like step by step, we're going further and further out of the object and playing with light and dark. And for us, it was I think a very interesting but also very complicated process in that small kind of room that we had. Because in the end, I think it felt like everything was in the way all the time. We had a big light standing there. We had a background build up to hang this thing. Then another person to move all those elements. And it was definitely, I think for us, like, very interesting and also a little bit of a chaotic process. But we kind of made our first video, so.
And this was actually made 2-3 years ago,
yeah,
and still hasn't been released, so it's also another nice example of client, relationships.
We have to wait for the website to be released.
Exactly, so this is the only place we've actually shown the film, and we've been waiting to put it online to kind of show clients as well that we can direct films. But yeah, as Jakob said, we had to deal with a lot of problems. For instance, using everything in the studio as props because we didn't really think about that in the beginning, that we would need something like that. And we rented this big rail system, which involves these rubber tubes that you're supposed to have a very smooth, clean transition with the camera.
We had the brilliant idea of having a very smooth movement.
Exactly, but that didn't work. So we basically spent a lot of the budget on equipment we didn't use. Yeah. And I think one of the best shots, or one of our favorite shots, was just using a turntable that we had in the studio. And so I guess a lot of the things we didn't plan were the ones that worked out the best. Yeah. And next is a little bit, another small short film of our work. And we've been asked to kind of warn people that if you're sensitive to flashing lights, that you should be aware.
And it would be great if we could maybe turn down the lights a little bit, just a little bit. Thank you.